What happens when this agreement expires in April? Are you going to extend it? Are you open to modifying it? What policy options are on the table for you?
Любые договоренности, особенно что касается...
Any agreement, especially an agreement aimed at balancing the market and supply and demand, has to end somewhere. We all very well understand that the oil market is a free market which is governed by supply and demand dynamics, and this is the governing force. I mean, I believe that once the market is balanced and once the inventory overhang is removed, i.e. we reach roughly the 5-year average level, we can start talking about reaching our goals in terms of the balanced market and then start a slow exit strategy, not to deteriorate the result and not to derail the effort. As far as my opinion goes, I believe the best period for amending such our joint efforts, is the time of demand growth, i.e. the third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter, summer period. Because during such time when demand is growing, it can absorb any additional supply, which is carefully put out onto the market if the need to do that arises.
Minister, I want to talk a little bit about Libya and about Nigeria, described perhaps as a fight with the demons from within, because countries like Russia, they are compliant. A lot of your peers are compliant. And then you have other countries who are adding production while you're taking out production. Isn't it time that Libya and Nigeria are faced and are applied some restrictions as well before this agreement expires? There's not a lot of time left.
Ну, что касается...
Well, as far as conformity goes, in terms of countries which are fully conformant or not, I mean, I think that you should look at the August numbers. Non-OPEC countries, for example, they have reached a level of conformity of 160%. And that means that they're 60% above what they voluntarily put on the table. OPEC countries, excluding Libya and Nigeria, the ones which have also bestowed the obligations upon themselves, they are also 100% conformant. And that is why you can say that within OPEC, some countries are non-conformant, other countries over-conform and compensate for the other ones to reach 100% conformity. Well, you can say that, of course, room exists for better conformity and for improving it, but overall, we are very pleased to see that OPEC as a group is 100% conformant. And it's a question of themselves, balancing out these efforts within the organization. But overall, we're happy. I mean, objectively speaking, of course, Libya and Nigeria output growth, it does impact the efficiency of the whole effort. But at the same time, you have to look at the things in complex. And if you look at demand growth, which is faster than anticipated by any forecasts, then this is minimizing the effects of Libya and Nigeria's production growth. We're also seeing that the fast production growth in Libya and Nigeria, which we saw before, has lost steam. So over the past few months, you're seeing significant volatility and not big production growth in those countries. That is why, overall, we see the initiative as very effective, and we see it as positive for the market rebalancing efforts.
If you take a look at the IEA data, it's suggesting that you need to take more aggressive steps, because otherwise there could be a rebuilding again of some of those inventories going into 2018. Demand might be solid, it might be growing, but you've also got a lot of supply coming online. U.S. shale is relentless, and it's continuing to strive as a force to be reckoned with. How do you reconcile that? And again, putting that into the context of your outlook for 2018 and 2019.
We, of course, monitor the situation very closely. We analyze all the key trends and tendencies in the market, and we base our decision and our judgment after factoring in all these things. All is not as bright as you say in many areas. I mean, of course, we track these things very carefully, and I can say that over the past few months, you're seeing a significant impact on shale producers from various factors like cost inflation and reduced efficiency. And if you actually look at the modeled numbers which the market reacts to, weekly numbers, and then you compare them to actual numbers which are released a few months later, the discrepancy over the past few months has been as high as 200,000 barrels per day, i.e. projected analyst estimates vs real thing. We are actually also seeing production decline in many countries around the world at the current price. You can see it in China, you can see it in the North Sea, in Norway, for example, comparing to end of last year levels. And you should also not forget the fact that demand growth continues, and most agencies, the consensus of various agencies is that demand growth will be around 1.4 million barrels next year. And I actually think that we may need to exert extra effort to satisfy demand growth for oil and oil products over the next few years.